So Paradox, I noticed your headset.
Oh yeah.
Very similar to mine. And it made me think, how do we make Tassadar a ranged assassin?
I mean, they are doing that rework, and they said they want to make him like a High Templar. I don't know. Let's talk about it. So what is Tassadar right now?
He's a support, and he shields, he storms, but he doesn't really have that oomph, right? I feel like for me, Tassadar, in his current state, he wants to stand behind the person, he wants to protect them, he wants to make sure that the Valeera can't get to them, but he doesn't really, it's not like you're like, oh my god, it's a Tassadar, watch out.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that's the thing is, I've been calling him a backpack hero, because like you throw him on the back of a Vala, right? You throw him on the back of a Vala, and suddenly Vala is this great hero. But he himself doesn't really ever feel like he's a major piece. I mean, the High Templar of the Protoss, they were these major spellcasters using not necessarily magic, but technology that they've created that uses psionic energy to do huge amounts of stuff. I mean, if you follow the lore in StarCraft really well, which I don't follow as well as I should, there are people in there that destroy planets with psionic energy. In fact, Kerrigan hit that power level at some point as well. We have these heroes that just follow along, put on shields, and then do a little bit of tickling damage. We want to see something major. We want to see this planet destruction ability in these heroes. So Blizzard has announced that they are going to rework Tassadar to be like a High Templar. Now, the average High Templar can't blow up some buildings, but they're still scary. So let's get into it. What does he currently have? What do we like about it? What don't we like about it? What can still be used as an assassin, but what are the things that make him a support hero that we need to get rid of so that he would fit into the assassin role?
So I think that obviously the shield is probably one of the bigger support abilities. But I think for me, the ability that I want to see do more is his E. Right now with Tass, I think his Storm is totally fine. I think
that would fit perfectly as an assassin. Like,
to a mage or a range, even a range. I mean, nowadays, I think his level 7 talent, he has Resonation, which makes your Psionic Beam slow if they're in the storm, right? I really personally enjoy talents like that, where you create synergies between your talents in your character, right? Kind of suggesting that you should do this before you do that. Like for me, Kerrigan's level 16, where if she has her heroic going, she gets more spell power. I think that's really cool, right? That's suggesting that if we take this talent, then we need to do A before we do B, and we'll get rewarded for that. And I think with Psionic Storm, it's actually an ability that they have so much potential to do whatever they want with it. And I think that is going to be one thing that we'll see hopefully emphasis on as we rework into a mage Tassadar or a ranged assassin Tassadar. I wouldn't mind seeing some sort of force wall mechanic built into the core kit of the character. Obviously, it could be a lot weaker. It could just be a singular pylon that appears. Maybe they just get rid of wall altogether.
Can I throw in something really quick if you're gonna do that? In StarCraft, walls are not built as a wall. They're built as individual pieces, and you normally get enough of the unit that builds them to where you can build a wall. What if we made Q charges, and it starts off where you get them very, very slowly, but you can quickly have it as 0 global cooldown, so you can really just quickly build a wall as fast as you need to. And then instead of having one cooldown where you just get a whole wall back, you have to slowly build back up all of your charges one by one. Make it a decent cooldown, but
it would have to be a heavy cooldown.
It would be.
It would have to be a heavy cooldown.
It would be. I mean, I would say almost 30 seconds that you're building up charges one by one, and then maybe you have to get talents to where you get more. But we could also talent into that with a little bit of damage too. I mean, what if you made it to where around the wall was a Psionic Storm? So you could use it offensively if you wanted to. You catch people out that they're all trying to leave, and now there's Psionic Storms are all of them. So now they not only need there's a wall in the way that's blocking them, but now they need to walk away from the wall, or else they're gonna get burned. So you could talent into your wall too if you wanted to. There's a lot of things we could do if that became something where you can lower the cooldown of it. I mean, you could be just as annoying if you want to. We'd have to make like the cooldown reduction a 16 talent or something, because it's already annoying. I mean, that level 20 wall,
the force wall, you cannot play around it. If we put it into a base ability like a Q, and there were certain charges, you would know, okay, he casts 1, okay, he casts 2, okay, he casts 3. He no longer has any more walls, and now I can play around that idea, right? That fact.
And I mean, it would work better with this kit too. I mean, if we're putting all of his damage into W, having more ways to keep people in your W is huge. Your Q, if you can keep just surround someone with a bunch of shields or a bunch of these zones, then you could leave them in the Q. Your E, if initially it slows them by like it's like a 70% slow. You hit them, they're in there long enough to where you can get it. So I'd love to combo these off together. And in fact, most mages in this game have a 100-0 combo. They have a combo that if you do everything correctly on one target, it kills any assassin or healer in the game. So it'd be cool for him to still have that, where maybe your E now does damage. After you talent in your W a little bit, if you lock them in your W and they take the damage from everything else, boom, you can 100-0 someone. The downside is that now you're in the middle of their team. Because most people, when they do their 100-0 combo, they're in a risky position. Thrall's 100-0, you're in a risky position. Orpheus 100-0, you're in a risky position. So this would put him in the same spot as them, is you would do everything and you'd be in a very risky position. So I like that style while still having a poke. It'd be very similar to Orphea, just a higher utility Orphea, and one that's easier to play around because it's more zone control rather than just simply straight up throwing stuff all over the place all the time.
So far, I feel like the W and E category would feel great.
I think so.
Now it comes down to the passive and the Q. I feel like fundamentally from looking at other characters, the Q button is more or less a poke in most cases.
For the most part, yeah.
You look at your Orphea Q.
I mean, even if we just look at mages. I mean, Kael'thas, it's poke. Jaina, it's poke. So do you want to try to stick with that theme and make it more poke related and not throw the shield on Q?
So like you look at Sylvanas' Q, right? And that's going to be more sustained damage, right? You're going to use that when you're hitting one target. Even like Vola with her Hungering Arrow.
Yeah, I mean, pokey, like depending on the build, but yeah.
But that's also like a committed, when you commit, in most cases, you're committing to said target, you're going to want to shoot them with that hungering before, right? You put in your full combo. So it's like the Q button, it seems like it should be a button that either is a committing button, like we're using it on our combo to commit, we're using it to poke their health a little bit to get them to a point where we can then WE and blow them up, or are we doing the wall deal, right? You know, I guess that's where I'm at now on it. What do we do with the Q?
If it almost makes me like think if we are trying to incorporate a wall, now we could just make a wall a trait, then it wouldn't be bad to make it a long cooldown, because having traits with long cooldowns is like, I mean, look at Alex Straza, look at
you just give him wall and like a 60-second CD.
Yeah, just make it like a 60 or 90, or make it charges if we want to go back to what the smaller versions look like. Make it a long cooldown on your trait, just something that he can do baseline. It doesn't ever get more annoying than that, because you never talent into, I mean, we could still make a level 20 that's more annoying, but I would rather not. I mean, if it's a trait, you can combo with that. What if we made his Q combo with that in a way where if you use your Q on someone and it's a poke and it goes further and hits a wall, it does something. So instead of like all the people that just smack against walls, in League of Legends, do you know how Bard works by any chance? If it pierces a hero and then it hits a wall behind them, it stuns them. We don't need to do something exactly like that, but maybe something that interacts with a wall behind it. So not only are you doing like a wall thing, but you can activate your own wall to combo it. This could be the last little bit of damage he needs for that 100-0 combo. And if you were not planning it correctly, you cannot 100-0 someone. So you have to use your wall to 100-0, and that's a long cooldown, so suddenly you're not using it for actual wall purposes. That would really dampen the 100-0 combo, and it would make it more like the other ones that are out there where you may not actually want to do it. You are going to be missing so many resources if you try to do that.
With like Sylv E, right? When you use your E aggressively, you know full well that when you go in, if you commit to it, you're going to either need to kill everybody, right, and be the last one alive, or you're going to get jumped, right?
Oh yeah.
And you need to either have something that's going to protect you. And the same could be said for this. I could see. I'm I really like it as just a point and click. I
mean,
hate point and clicks, but like I would love to have.
I mean, we don't have a lot of mages with point and click.
No, we don't. We have Ignite, and that's it.
I think that's
like, Ignite is the only point and click that we have on a mage.
We could just keep it weak as far as damage goes, and it's just a point and click. I mean, one of the things that I liked about like when Crash Lightning,
it could juice your auto attack too. We're pretty much victor at that point, but it could. You do it.
I mean, if anything, just make it combo with your W, where it does very little damage, but if they do get hit by the big W, they get it does a splash AoE or something. So if you catch more than one person and you've got your Q in there, it's just like boom, you just ended a team fight
too. They get marked and then your
so yeah, let's do a mark, and the mark only breaks if they get hit either by your E or if they get hit by the final of your W.
There you go. Now we're comboing.
Now it's combos. I like it. I like it. Point and click, and then it marks them for either your E explosion or your W explosion. I like that. As far as assassins go, the only assassins that are given vision-related talents are people that are very, very long range that need that. So currently in his state, his W range is pretty decent. I would say it's medium as far as mages go, and then that's enhanced by if you take the talent that increased by 40%, then you are a pretty solid range that would be worth having that extra vision.
Could you put the last tick of the Psy Storm does more? So in its current state, it stacks, right? As you stand in it longer, it stacks. In this case, it feels like if you're in Tassadar Storm or you're out of Tassadar Storm, it doesn't really matter, and there should or shouldn't be a window at which you should be out of it. Like, do we have a 3-tick, you're in it, you're going to get slowed or stunned, you're going to get an extra burst, you're going to get a mark, maybe a prism spawns. Is there an effect? So I know for me, something that I currently do not like about Tass is it feels like he has very little to no big impact button. And I say that in the sense of, while his Archon can be hit and he can kind of start going in with that, right? Or, even his Force Wall in some cases can get really blocks. It doesn't really feel like he has a button, and most mages do. If we look at like Hanzo or Sylvanas, where if this button hits hard, then we lose, sort of thing, right?
Oh yeah.
If the Hanzo arrow hits, we lose. If the Sylvanas silences like 3 of us, we probably lose. Can we create that same sort of emergency with his Psionic Storm, or do we want to introduce that into like a heroic ability, right? We want to give him something and then maybe work the Force Wall into the Psionic Storm talent, or maybe his Q, instead of creating shields on units, creates Force Walls, right? Or pieces or parts to them. It's just, how do we create that impact button for Tass? Where would you go with it?
No, I actually like that idea of having the W have that burst at the end of it, because like you said earlier with that combo of his level 7 talent, you can slow them. So even if they're like, oh, I could just wait until the end of this and then leave, you can slow them if they stay in it a little too long, and suddenly they're slowed too long to move out. It's the same idea with Deckard, right? His E alone is like, oh, you've got enough time to get out of it. But when you combine it with Sapphire, if that Deckard hit you right in the middle, you do not have time to get out of that root anymore. So instead of it being a root that punishes you, it's just a huge burst of damage. And we could maybe have outside of it an indicator that kind of times around, so you can see like, oh, as it's going around to the end, boom, and it does a big animation so people know it's going to do a huge amount of damage. And if anything, we could run his whole kit around that if we wanted that to be kind of a baseline for it, because we don't have a lot of mages that they all rely around one ability and then they all are trying to make that ability function. And because that is the most major to the point of what a High Templar does, it's probably the biggest indicator of what a High Templar does. I would say that's a really good ability to start on to base a kit.
It also, you could consider too, like a thing that like current Tass is very good at is clearing waves. And if we add his kind of poke to his Psionic Storm, similar to like KT and his Flame Strike, if he storms the wave to clear the wave, then a lot of his power is gone, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if we base that similarly to, like I said, Kael'thas, right, where we have a big damage, we have a little damage, and then we have a form of CC. Obviously, you can pair all of those really well together with KT, Tornado, Flame Strike, Ignite. I think that would be a good way to work into what the rest of his abilities, right?
So at the end of 3 seconds, your Psionic Storm will have an anomaly, because Blizzard loves that word right now. and that will explode, and we'll do, let's just do a flat amount of damage, as it will do the same amount of damage that it does over time, but it does it at the end of it as well. So it'll do 266 damage per second, and again, this will be balanced, of course. With testing, we can see if it needs to be higher, lower, and it'll be adjusted with talents as well. But let's say that the ending explosion will do an extra 266 damage flat. Now, that's 266 damage per second. So that's actually 750 damage, and then again 750 damage. So the goal is to get out of that little zone and blow it up, because again, High Templars and StarCraft for strategy are all about zoning, and it's all about to punish those who do not have good mechanics.
You need to get out of the circle, right? We're testing the player's micro, unlike something like we brought up Flame Strike, where it pops. Now you know that you're getting damage, but you need to get out of it similar before it also pops.
Definitely. So I like that. Let's hold that in place for now for the W, and it no longer increases damage per strike anymore. No. It's just the damage over time, and then boom. Now, Dimensional Shift. I like having escapes on assassins, especially ranged assassins, because it feels really bad to play a ranged assassin that Illidan jumps on and then you're just done. You just give up.
Yeah.
So I like having an escape. What I really love that Blizzard did for just a minute there was they started bumping all of these super escapes to a 30-second cooldown. So we saw all in the same patch, Dimensional Shift go to a 30-second cooldown, Tracer's Recall go to a 30-second cooldown, and I believe they increased the cooldown of Phoenix. It's not 30 seconds, but they did increase it in that same patch. So assassins having these all out, immediately out of harm's way is really, really powerful. Is this one too powerful where it's at? Or should we make it a little bit weaker? Should we do anything else to it? I love this ability. I mean, what are your ideas for Dimensional Shift? What do you think should be adjusted with this to make it more assassin?
Yeah.
And you've been kind of playing up this combo side of it. I mean, do you want to try to do something with that?
So what I think would be very cool to be added to the E is more or less a aggressive approach to the ability. So it can be placed into a talent. It doesn't have to be core kit, but it would be cool if it was. For me, I've played Task throughout. It was a character that I was playing in my beginning of my pro career, and that was, again, the pre-shield. I would have always loved to have the ability to use my E aggressively, right? And be rewarded for that. So what I would like to see is, if you E in, when you reappear, an effect happens. That could be a slow, that could be a stun, that could be a silence. Whatever the case, I think that would work really cool and well with this psionic storm shift that we're having, where you could storm them as you're eing in aggressively, you reappear, right? This feels very High Templar-like, right? But also you're feeling cool and powerful while you're doing it. Stun them in the storm pops, and now here we are, lasering them. I think that's what I would love to see them shift with this E, so that we get the option of playing aggressive, and we're not just playing it defensively or just to evade damage, right? I think that I would just really like to see some form of CC, I guess is my argument here. And my point to saying I've been playing Task forever. I've never had CC. I've only had Force Wall or Archon slows, right? Basically, there's never been a, hey, that person's out of position, what if I hit this button?
And I actually love this design choice of you can have an amazing escape with a high risk, high reward option to it. We see that in Calamity on Li Ming, a high damage guaranteed hit, but if you do it at the wrong time, you're dead. We have it on Sylvanas, especially in W build. You use it offensively, you lose your defensive ability, but you have this chance of blowing up an entire team with a good WER. You can wipe a team with it. So I love that ability, and it takes this. Honestly, if we made that a major piece of his kit, that would make it to where he has to use this to be a really powerful assassin. And if not, you're just doing poking damage that can all be healed up with a small burst in case someone plays really poorly.
And I think the part of that would excite me if it were true is it would allow for, again, talent diversity. So you could go a E build, right? We could make the E stun if the person's in the storm. We could make, the E reset if you kill somebody, right? We've all talked about Calamity and resetting. Wouldn't that be cool if you're like storming, eing in, reappearing, boom, stun, pop, then you're eating after that. You know, it's just you're just killing everybody. Like that would be so sick. And, and I could see that. Like,
I mean, it would be.
You would really feel like a cool mage assassin.
Yeah. What if you got a temporary, like, what is it called? Archon at 20, where you don't even need to take the Archon talent. It's just one of your things. You E, and if you hit 2 people at a time after level 20, you get a temporary Archon. Kind of like how if you hit enough targets with Alex Straza's ultimate, she gets a free dragon. And it would be hilarious to have, like, boom, you get a temporary Archon. Boom, you get a temporary Archon. And, I mean, I say temporary just because if they kept the other level 20 in there, because that's a fun one.
So you say that. So now this is, I'm going to kind of diverge a little bit, but not really. So what if we moved dimensional shift to a heroic ability?
That's an idea.
And then we juice it.
Where if you hit a couple people. And
now we have my heavy impact button. That means you could, like, from this bush, I could, like, fog and then boom, show up here. Big ult, stuns, right? So now we're using it aggressively, but you could also use it defensively. Technically, you wouldn't want to.
That's interesting. See, at first I was looking at Archon with this new stun or root or whatever. I was looking at Archon because it refreshes dimensional shift. So you could use your E offensively, then Archon, and then you can use your E defensively.
So maybe it just flows better that way.
It could be. I mean, we could make it his ult if we wanted to, then fit more damage abilities in there. So we've got his Q figured out, we've got his W figured out, we've got his E figured out, and we're going to move his wall to his trait because it's fun, but it's also anti-fun. So let's just give it to him all the time, but let's make it to where it never gets better, right? Yep. I mean, maybe we can make a level 20 talent for it, but that level 20 is annoying. But let's just say for now, let's just say that it's a 60-second cooldown, never gets better, and let's combo those off. What we have Archon, which is already what the upgraded version.
I think Archon just is Archon.
Yeah.
And I think
let's leave Archon. What else do we want for an ult? That's sustained and that's damage. Normally what most assassins get is you usually get a sustained option and a burst option, or you get a sustained option and CC. So in the case of Kael'thas, you get sustained and zoning, or you get single target burst that happens to be AoE if they're like really close. With Jaina, you get sustained with water elemental or heavy CC with burst with ring.
I think it should be an EMP, right? Like essentially what's his Artanis' ult, but magic damage. It's almost like Falstad's pre-rework heroic. I can't think of what that thing was called. He essentially stood still and like held his hammer up, and then there was a big AoE purge around him.
Oh, let me go look that up. That's actually gonna bother me now.
I can't think of what no one took it.
Let me see if I can find a. There it is. You call up a storm. I remember this. This was so long ago. They got rid of this real quick.
Yeah, they got rid of that.
And it's stunned. It's actually, so essentially how this works is it's like light bomb, except for you had to be standing still on the activation, and you should never get this close on Falstad. So it was like never picked.
But it works, and what's hilarious.
And I believe it also gave a shield.
I think that's just Falstad's W talent.
Yeah, I think that's just his E. But yeah, that's what it was, and that's hilarious. But yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we could give that,
right? And then you're eating in, you're storming, and then you're again, and that works really well with the lore because he sacrificed himself, right? He's got a big explosion.
Spoilers. No, sorry. I'm kidding. Yeah, that actually would be pretty cool.
I mean, you have your one-shot combo, right?
Oh yeah, you immediately go and you stun them in your W, you hit them with the key, the Q, you mark them, you go in with your E, you stun them in the W, and then you just immediately pop your R, and it would almost be cool for him to like blow up and then slowly repiece himself back together. You know what I mean? Because you can't just die.
On the ground.
Yeah, you can't just die. But that would be kind of funny is to have him just blow up and then repiece himself back together. But yeah, I mean, it could dampen magic as well if you wanted to with an EMP. So what you could do is, instead of silence, which is normally the counter, so blind counters auto attack and silence counters spell casting. I mean, we could do it as silence, but I feel like that's gonna be too similar to like Twilight Dream. We could just do it as like a... Yeah, we could just do it as like a damage reduction, just a flat damage reduction that slowly whittles down or something, or flat. I mean, I don't know.
Like
we could do something like that. Or what if it just leaves a zone behind? While he's rebuilding himself, there's just a zone. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be the full zoning here. That's the competitive reason why you run a High Templar to begin with is for zoning, and now that's what he's going to get. He's going to be the ultimate zoning mage. So that zone that he leaves behind could just be a damage reduction zone, and it'll just need to be clear that that's what it does. I mean, it's already not clear that if you don't play Leoric, you don't know what he's doing. So if people are worried that it's not going to be clear enough that there's a giant zone that you shouldn't be in, then it's going to be the same thing as Leoric. It's just going to be a lot more visible than...
You'll learn quick.
Yeah. It's going to be... But that would be cool as he's rebuilding himself. So you're kind of like Leoric, where you don't really do a lot during that. Like, you'll probably instantly blow up one target, and then you just create a zone for a while. But you can't do anything because you need to rebuild yourself. Your cooldowns will still roll. And then your upgrade could be that you just pop it and you don't actually drop. You just leave a ghost of yourself.
Do you status or stay still?
Yeah, your health bar is gonna be gone, I think.
And you're just untargetable, because then at that point it could be just kind of OP as like a defensive tool.
I mean, it could be. You could use it defensively.
Or do you self-stun?
Self-stun, and then people can still attack you while you're...
Yes.
I mean, that's risky, but that could work. I mean, that's super risky, but I mean, I like it. That would make it balanced.
That makes it less
because they're going to be doing half damage to you anyways.
Because you're in.
I like it. I like that better. While you're rebuilding yourself, people can attack your parts. Which
just for.
I mean, it'll just be you in the middle. I mean, we don't need to go all like Zach, where you have parts that actually literally fly out and they're coming together. But you could just, as you're rebuilding yourself,
you're standing here.
Yeah.
And you can see the armors or whatever.
Yeah, everything's just kind of flying in, and so and then people can just attack that. But you will have that damage reduction going out, so you'll be harder to kill, and they might have just taken a whole lot of damage. I like it. I like that. So that's his second ult. So as far as talents go, I don't think we need to put
not even worrying about talents.
Right. We could be done right there. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is we don't need to do a lot of time into talents. I was just saying we could add a Q talent that if you activate it, they lose armor. You could do a Q talent where if you activate the mark, you get shield. We could do a Q talent where if you activate the mark. But yeah, I think, I mean, no matter how they rework him, I'm excited, right? Yeah. Some of the ideas we came up with are probably too crazy, maybe too similar to other heroes. We are not game designers. We just like to come up with stuff. But I mean, if they don't copy this, I mean, then again, we also need to keep in mind they've already been working on something for a year, so they're not going to shift it all to what we're saying. But if we're big brain here
and
we just came up with this character and it happened to be the same thing that they came up with, man, it looked like we'd have like an inside scoop on this.
Okay, so here's my outro question to everyone watching, in the comments, everywhere, wherever you see this. Here's what I want. I want one thing from you guys. Is Tassadar's auto attack snowballs or lasers?
Oh.
It's something that we didn't discuss.
Oh.
It's fairly important, actually.
That's actually really important. We'll leave that to the comments for sure.
Yeah, we didn't
I have my opinions on that. I have very, very strong opinions on that. But I say we leave that to the comments. All right, sounds good. Well, I am NotParadox. Thank you, McIntyre, for bringing this idea. I think that we've come up with some pretty cool things, and I will see you next time.
And for everyone that is watching, make sure to throw a like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all the views. Everyone has hung out and watched all the way through. Hopefully, we really did just mega brain this.
That's it.
Gonna be it, guys. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Thank you all so much again. Like and subscribe. NotParadox. Appreciate you making this video with me. Until the next time, we'll see you guys then. Cheers.